This video is being brought to you together in cooperation with Pixel Rights. As a photographer, you need a website that has beautiful templates, is fully customizable, and most of all, can protect a photographer's most valuable assets, the photograph. If that interests you, then use the affiliation link in the description and save 20% off the annual membership. We know what it's like. Photographers love to spend their money on buying that extra camera gear, tripod, accessories, whatever it is, and we always somehow manage to convince our other half that it's that essential bit of gear that we need to take that perfect shot. But what if you're spending more of your time behind a desk editing your photographs than you are out in the real world taking the photographs? Well, if you are, then watch today's video, because I'm going to show you how to build a photo and video editing PC that's going to reduce your workflow dramatically and get you back out in the real world, take some of those lovely shots that you do. Anyway, stick around, it's coming after this. So what today is, I'm going to go through all the parts now that they're here and talk about the rationale. Now, I've watched a lot of a guy called Linus, Sebastian Linus, and he does great videos on PC builds, and what he does is go through the rationale. Now, I'm not trying to copy him, well, I'm sort of in a way, but I think his process is the best I've seen, so I'm going to go through the rationale so you know exactly why I've chosen these parts in relation, don't forget, to photographers and videographers. So let me start off with the monitor. I'm going to get this out of the way, so I'll start off with this. Is a 27-inch IPS monitor from AOC. Now, I bought this second hand. I can't particularly recommend it, but it is very good, but there's one failing in it, that the charger, the plug, the mains plug overheats. Now, I don't know if that's specific to this monitor, but I've purchased a new mains charger and it does the same thing. So what I've done is simple get round. I've purchased a USB fan. I've taken it off my desk, but I attached it to the desk, put a small heat sink from an old PC onto the charger. The air blows through the heat sink and it can run as long as I want to. Normally without the system in place, it runs for about 10 minutes and cuts out. So with a fan in place, it seems to work. So the monitor that I do have is that AOC 27-inch IPS monitor, and this is for my photographs. For my video, I have a 32-inch Sony Vega TV. TVs aren't always the best, but it's a HD TV, it's fine. It gives me a lot of space to do the timelines and to look at it easily enough without trying to squint like I do when I'm on my laptop. So big monitors are really good for photographs. 27 inches big enough, more than big enough. For the video, I have a 32-inch. If that eventually does go, I'll probably get a larger screen just so I can get the timeline in. It makes editing videos a lot easier. Anyway, let's get this out of the way. Let's start on the real products. Right, a little drink. And do take some mind, just in case this video does go on for too long, I will separate it in two parts, so look out for that. Right, the first part. The motherboard is the basis, the foundation of any PC. If you don't get the right motherboard, then the other parts aren't going to be able to deal with the processes you want if it's a specific process. For me, it's photograph editing, photo editing, and video editing. So I chose the Asus. They are a very good brand for motherboards. They have a high level of quality control. So I picked their one, and I did a lot of research on this. And for video editing and photography, the M5 A99 FX Pro Revision 2 seems to be a good motherboard for what I want. So I don't know what that buzzing noise is. Anyway, I think it's next door, they're drilling. Anyway, so this is the motherboard I've chosen. The Revision 2 is very important because it deals with the requirements I need. I wanted 32 gig of RAM, which it does. I wanted it to be able to handle my processor. I'm not going to go into that yet, I'll go into that afterwards. And it's capable of doing that. You have to have a motherboard that can handle the processor you want. Specifically if you're going for a high-end processor that's going to deal with data-intensive processes, because the processor, CPU will heat up, the motherboard can't handle it. You're going to get bottlenecks, or it's going to you're going to overheat and burn out your motherboard. So the foundation, Asus, fantastic company for motherboards. The M5 A99 FX chip Pro Revision 2. Now before I go on, this is an AMD motherboard, so it's the A3 Plus chipset, not chipset, socket. So it's the A3 Plus socket. Sorry, it's new to me, so I'll get a few things mistaken, but I'll revise it if I make mistakes later on. So it's the A3 Plus socket set for AMD processors, and I'll go into why I went to AMD at the end. Now, if you're going to drive all the components that you want to add to your system, you're going to have to have a powerful enough power supply to drive it. Now that doesn't mean a powerful power supply just about covers what your requirements are. You need a bit of headroom, so should you want to overclock it or upgrade at a later date without having to buy enough power supply. Now I did up all the power requirements, checked on a site called PC Parts Pickers, and all I really needed was a 550 watt power supply. So to give it a bit of headroom, I went for a 750 watt power supply. Now, when you're building a PC, airflow and cooling is extremely important, which is why I went for a modular power supply. That way I haven't got all the leads tacked, because a non-modular power supply, you get all the leads whether you need them or not. Modular, you clip in what you need into the power supply, and it makes it much neater and creates a better, more tidier system for better airflow. So that's important. So that's the Areocool Intergrator 750 watt power supply. I'm going to put all the details at the end of this video, or no, actually I'll put it as I go along, and I'll also put it in the description with the link, so you'll have the item and the link and so on, and the price. So this is the Integrator, Areocool Intergrator 750 bronze, bronze plus power supply. That means it's rated for efficiency up to bronze level, goes up to silver and gold and so on. So this is not a bad one, it's bronze. It's not the best, it's a mid-range one, but it's good enough for me. Because I basically had a budget of around £800, because that might sound a lot, but I saved up for that, and I want this power PC to last a good few years. So spending $850 on the specs that I have is cheaper than I would ever have got someone to build a PC with the same spec. You can get a PC cheaper, but not for these specs. So $750. Right. The next most important thing, I think, would be the graphics card. Now there's a lot of debate that the graphics card is not important for video editing. It's great for gaming, but not necessarily for video editing. That is changing. And if you're using Adobe Premiere, then you should look at, sorry about that, it's drilling next door. If you're looking for using Adobe Premiere, then you should be looking at a graphics card with CUDA cores. It's a system that Adobe Premiere uses to to render the video a lot easier. So it's CUDA cores, and NVIDIA have put a lot of their focus on CUDA cores in their graphics cards. Now, the reason my system is going to be slightly different, as you see as I go along, it's an AMD based system, is because I'm using Sony Vegas. Now Sony Vegas has put a lot of effort into going towards the OpenCL system, and so I really do want to keep everything as much as possible to AMD, and Radeon is AMD based built, so I went for the AMD Radeon RX 460. It's the lower end, not low, it's a mid to lower. It's not an expensive one, £99, but it does have 4 gigs. I bought the 4 gig overclocked version. So this is, let me explain that. Right, AMD and Radeon will build a graphics card, then other manufacturers like Gigabyte, Asus, MSI will take that graphics card and customize it for their own systems. So this one's been customized, it's been overclocked, and it's a 4 gigabyte. The stock one normally comes with just one fan. It's got a double fan, so it's customized. It's the maximum the 460 goes up to, or 4 gig, and it's GDDR5 RAM. So this will be good enough for my needs. If I find that it's not, I will swap it out later on for something like the 470, or even further, which I don't think I would do, is for the 480. Now the reason why I didn't go any higher than the 460 for this build is because I wanted to keep it as close enough as possible to my budget of £800. So this was £99. By the way, this was 50, should have said before, and this was just over £100. This one, so I got these on good deals. This one was a particularly good deal. They normally, the motherboard normally goes around 150. I got it just over 100. Can't remember the exact price. I'll put in the description. This was 55, and this was, let's call it around 100. It was £99. Right, the next important thing, the processor. Now, because my main area is going to be photo editing and video editing, the more cores you have, this is what my research told me, the better it is for video editing. Now this is an 8-core processor. It's 4 gigahertz. It's the black edition, so it's got a turbo, so it can go up to 4.2, I think, clocked. You can get it up higher, but I'm not gonna. I think it's able to achieve up to 5 gigahertz if you really overclock it, but I'm not looking to do that at the moment. I'm looking to keep it at its clock speed of 4 gigahertz, or is it 4 gigahertz? Let me see, I'm saying the right thing. Yeah, 4 gigahertz, and maybe push it a little bit up to 4.2. But that's the processor, and this is the AMD. The reason why I did AMD is for compatibility, and because they're putting a lot of effort into the OpenCL system, which is why I took the AMD graphics card. And that being said, I want it, and I'm using Sony Vegas. The other main reason is that Intel is a lot more expensive. So budget wise, I was looking at budget, bang for buck, and this is the best processor I feel, given that I use Sony Vegas. I want to keep it as AMD specific as much as possible. I couldn't do it all the way. But I want to get my best bang for buck. Intel would have set me way higher, because I want to get an 8-core processor, 8 pure cores, not multi-threading, and from my research, a lot of people are Intel based and they're saying AMD is not as good. They're not as fast as Intel, but this is a good workhorse, and that's what I want it for video editing, for rendering, and photo editing and Photoshop, where you can get a lot of layers. It's going to be data intensive, and I'll be able to do my work finally, because my last PC struggled at everything. So this is an 8-core processor. It's the AMD FX 8350. I got this for £120. It was worth it. The first processor I bought, which is why I've been waiting so long, was £140. It never arrived. Amazon refunded me. It's one of those sellers, I think, that set up just around Christmas time, take the money and run off and never provide the goods. But this seller did. I've got the AMD CPU 8350 8-core processor. Now I'm just going to open this box and show you something. Now this is the black edition. Okay, I'll leave the processor in here because I'm looking at it in itself. Now this processor, some of them come without coolers or with coolers. Now this processor is the Wraith edition. I don't know what it's just called that. And this comes with the stock cooler. I'm not going to use a stock cooler. I mean, it's fine, it's a good stock cooler, but I won't be using that because I'm going to go on to my next part, which is the aftermarket cooler. Now, keeping this processor cool is vital if you're going to overclock it, and especially if you're going to do data intensive programs. If you're going to do things that are data intensive, the processor's going to get hot and you don't want it overheating. So there are water coolers, but I decided not to get the water cooler, and I went for the Artic Freezer 7 Pro revision. I think this is the revision 2. It was when I bought it, but it's Artic Pro 7. This has got excellent reviews. It's not too massive, so it's not going to take up all space. As I'm not clocking it, I'm going to overclock it up to 5 gigahertz or anything like that. This will do fine. It has got great reviews. It wasn't too expensive, I think £22. It's got a 6-year limited warranties. So is it made for Intel? Yeah, for Intel and AMD. So it's a good processor. I've not seen any bad reviews on it on Amazon. I like it. It's gonna do the job. I'm confident of that, because it's often matched with the 8350. A lot of people have matched it with that, and it's handled the heat very easily. No problem with it. So that's the aftermarket cooler. It's always worth getting that than sticking with the stock cooler. You're going to get much more benefit from a big aftermarket cooler that can handle any data intensive processes and keep your processor nice and cool. So that's the Artic Pro 7, and that was £22, something like that. Next thing, okay, RAM. This is where I might have got slightly wrong. I was looking to get 32 gig of RAM, that's it. I was going to go max out because I don't want to upgrade it later on, go for 8 or 16, as many people say that's the minimum. I didn't want the minimum, I wanted to max the system out, so I don't have to mess about with it afterwards. Now I wanted to get as fast a RAM as possible, but the budget sort of restricted that. This is not bad RAM. It's the Crucial Balistix 1600 speed hertz. Now that's not bad. It's not slow. It's mid-range, so I'm not too disappointed. I'm confident it will handle the job. Crucial, a good company. The Balistix have got decent reviews. 32 gig of RAM will handle what I want easily and more as my projects get bigger and bigger, more data intensive. The board is made for 32 gig RAM, so I can't see the problem with it. This is DDR3, so let me go through this part again. It's Crucial Ballistic 32 gig of RAM, DDR3 RAM. Now the reason why I bought this in a kit, I could have bought it separately. I wanted to ensure there was no compatibility issues, and the best way if you're gonna buy the maximum sticks of RAM is to get a kit, and a quad kit was my best option. So Ballistic 32 gig of RAM, and it's DDR3, and I think I paid, and it's 1600 Hertz, and I paid £120 for this. Not too disappointed. Okay, fans. Again, cooling. You got to consider cooling all the time if you're going to build a PC that's going to deal with a lot of work. Cooling. Right. I'll go on storage afterwards. Fans. Now there's 2 fans already in case, but I'm going to swap them out and I'm going to put these Quiet Edition fans, because I don't want noisy fans, because there's going to be 5 in there, and I want it, well, 6 if you include the cooler fan, the cooler and the power supply. You got 7 fans going, and you don't want them to be noisy or to drive me nuts. So I bought the Quiet Edition AF120 Corsair fan. Now Corsair is another good company, make good products. The fans are good. As I've been a bit like a kid here, I did buy LED fans. It's my first build. I was keen to have a bit of LEDs. Really didn't need it, but just wanted to indulge myself, the kid in me. So I have 5 LED fans. I can't remember the price, but I will put them in. They're not expensive at all. They're Quiet Edition fans. So I'm going to swap out the 2 fans that are in the case and put 5 of these, all these fans there to keep the system nice and cool. They're not expensive. I think this was £17 actually for 2. Let's say it's £16 for 2. So all in all, 5/8 of, or 5/8, 40 pounds. So that's that. What I hate when I'm transferring data is having one of these USB card readers. They always seem to break after a while, or don't give you the speed, or don't connect, whatever they do. So one thing I was determined out of everything was going to fit an internal card reader that was fixed solid and that would read all the cards. So internal card reader. This has also got USB 2, I thought it had USB 3, but doesn't matter. USB 2, and it's got all the cards. Now to fit this into the case, I needed a bracket, a 5-inch bracket, because it's a 3.5 inch. So that will fit in this, that will fit in that. I think about £10 altogether. But internal card reader is important. We're using a lot of cards from your camera. You're not going to damage your cards, or you're going to have to be searching around for another card reader when that gets damaged, the lead gets damaged. So card reader. I bought this as a thermal compound. It's for fixing the cooler to the processor. I bought this before the cooler, but the cooler has thermal compound on it already, applied to it already, so this is not really important, but sometimes you do need to get that. Now leads, I've got some spare leads. These are all SATA leads. I've got about 8 here for the hard drives and everything else. I need just spare leads, right? Because I'm going to have 2 monitors. I had these because I had my system already, so I had these boxes around. I probably won't be able to use them now that I've got a discrete graphics card with additional ports for my monitors. But if you haven't got that, you can get these boxes where you could have one lead from your VGA lead into the box from your computer. Then you can plug off 2 monitors from there, and it costs about £10. Now for storage, for control, cooling, still on cooling. Again, indulging the kid in me, I bought a fan controller. Now this is a bit of a snazzy one. Where is it? A snazzy one. It's the NZXT fan controller. It costs about, no, it costs £36 actually, exactly. And this has the ability to control 5 fans, which will be these fans. So you can put them near the processor, near the graphics card, near the power supply, and so on at different your hard drives. I'll be putting near the hard drive. So you've got them at different locations. 5 probes will go in 5 areas, and you can control it manually or leave on automatic. It's a great thing to have if you're keen on keeping your processor cooler. You know you're going to be putting it under a bit of pressure. You can turn up the fan, but when you're not doing much, you can turn it down, keep the noise down if the system is noisy with 7 fans. So you can control your system. You use less power because you can control things down. Great little thing. £36 was in my budget. I calculated this into my budget. I like it. I wanted my PC to look good, so really it was not unnecessary, but it is given into the child in me. Anyway, right. There's no point in me buying a graphics card, a pro motherboard, and all the RAM and fast processor if I'm just going to stick in slow hard drives. So following again, like Linus Sebastian, I don't know which one it is, Linus Tech Tips, great video channel. They all call him Linus, so it must be Linus Sebastian, so I do apologise for getting it wrong, Linus. Anyway, he's given me a lot of tips. I've watched his videos over and over to get some knowledge, and I've decided to use an SSD and mechanical drive combo rather than having just a mechanical drive or just SSDs. Right, I have 2 SSDs here, and I'll go through the reasoning why. I have one which is 120 gig and a 240 gig SSD drive. Now SSDs are a lot faster than mechanical drives, so I'm going to use this for my boot up drive. Now I'm going to use the 120 gig for my boot up drive because all I'm going to be holding on the system is a 120 is Windows 10, Sony Vegas, Photoshop, Lightroom. That's it. I'm not putting anything else on the PC. Maybe a few other programs like Handbrake to convert, other small programs to convert files, Adobe Reader, whatever. But the main programs will be the operating system, Windows 10, Sony Vegas Pro 13, Lightroom, Photoshop, and maybe one or two other things. So 120 gig is going to give more than enough space for those minimum programs. So what's the 240 gig for? Well, this is going to be my scratch drive. So this is a drive that I put all the stuff that I'm working on, and when I'm working on a project, I'll go on my scratch drive and I'll work on it there. It's like I'm using it like a folder, my work in progress folder. So all my stuff will go on my scratch drive, and say I'm working on a video project, I'll put the music on here, the graphic, everything on this scratch drive. It could be as big as I want, and I'll work on it. And once I've finished with it, I'll move it to my 2 terabyte Western Digital mechanical drive. Now this is not a fast mechanical drive, and I'm not too bothered because all the processing, all the fast working will be done between these 2. And the reason why these need to be fast is because I don't want to get any unnecessary bottlenecks in the system. I've got a fast processor, decent graphics card, 32 gig of RAM, and if everything's high spec, then I put a slow mechanical drive. That's where the bottleneck is going to be. Now I've got 2 SSDs working together, so they're going to be fast. There's not an SSD to mechanical there. Then my scratch drive would have all the different data on it. My SSD will have the programs on it. they'll be working at the same speed, so it'll keep up with the processor and so on. But when I finish with the project, I will move it to my slower 2 terabyte green drive, and this is going to be my archive drive. Now all it's got to do is the SSD has got to transfer across. If there's a slight bottleneck, doesn't matter, because I leave it and go off. I finish the project, I'm not rushing to do anything. I finish it, all the uploading, everything will be done on here, but when I've finished it completely, it'll go to my archive drive, which is 2 terabytes. I will be getting some more to fit in the system, so, but 2 terabytes is big enough for me. It's a 540 RPM, so it's not super fast, but it is efficient and the green drives are very reliable. Now, so that's how it's worked. SSD to SSD, then archive on the mechanical drive. And these last long. SSD drives only have a less of a life, only a certain amount of writes. So you don't want to store your stuff on the SSD. You want it either to be a boot drive and you store for long storage to your mechanical. You don't want to have it SSD then store it for long term on your other SSD drive. You don't want to do that. You want to store it on a mechanical drive. So my scratch drive will be 240. My scratch drive will be the 240 gig drive, and my boot drive will be the 120 gig, and I'll work fast together. Then I move it off in slow time to my mechanical hard drive. Now I've got another hard drive here, and this is only 80 gigs, not a big drive, and this is another archive drive in a way. And this is going to hold all my music or any small graphics, any like GIFs or anything like that. But mainly my music I'll be storing on here, and I may get another drive for images like logos and so on. But so far, this will be my music, and any logos like the photography and the click logo will go there. Any outros, intros will stay there, so I've always got it. And this will just sit there, and if I ever need them or I've lost, I pick it up from here, put it to my scratch drive, and it will stay here. Then when I finish, I delete all the gear, so it's always fresh, always starting fresh. The scratch drive will never be full up, because all it is my working drive, my temp folder to work with your new project. So this is 80 gig, and it'll hold my music. One last thing. Oh no, it's not one last thing, two more things. As a backup, you've got to have a backup. And this I got from Amazon. It's like it's not a NAS drive, but it is an extra storage. And this box costs now £45. It has a RAID, it's RAID compatible, RAID 1 and 2, 1 and 0. Now I can't explain fully because I'm not au fait RAID, but I know RAID, either RAID 1 or 0, that doubles up. So I've got two 500 gig drives in here. Now when I back up to it, because it's on RAID, what is it on RAID? Let me see. RAID, I think 1. Now don't take my word for this. You have to check it out yourself. I'll put a link to more RAID information. But I think it sees only one drive, so it will only see 500 gig. And what it does, it copies to the one drive, and the other drive clones it to the other drive. So you're getting a double backup, but you're only getting half the data. So if this can take up to two terabyte drives, so I could put it'll be 4 terabytes in total, but all the system is going to see is 2 terabytes because it double backs up. Now this is quite good because you don't want to leave all your stuff on one hard drive, so I always back it up to this, and when they're full I will take them out, replace them with new ones, and when this starts getting full I will delete it, format it, so it's always sort of fairly low, it's not full up, and the system will work quite well. If you overfill it, it's going to get slow. So this is going to be my backup, and I will keep it to the side, so it's always going to be backed up externally out of the system. I will be back. Let's get back again. The keyboard. Now I've already got 2 keyboards at home, and the reason why I bought this keyboard is because I'm going to customize it. I'm a novice to Sony Vegas, but I want to get more and more competent when using it. On Amazon and eBay, you can buy shortcut keyboard shortcut stickers for Sony Vegas, Adobe Premiere, and so on. So I tried to buy the stickers, they didn't arrive, so I've got to reorder them. But basically, I will be putting the stickers on this keyboard, so this will be my Sony Vegas keyboard. So when I use it, I will get more familiar with the shortcuts, and my work will get faster, and I'll be more productive. Now, this will stay like that. Now, a lot of the reviews say that stickers wear off, and that's true. I don't doubt it, because if I was to buy a proper Sony Vegas keyboard, it's going to cost me £100. I'm not going to pay £100 for a keyboard. But what I will be doing, and I'll show it in a video, I hope to get the stickers and then you use nail varnish lacquer, clear, and very carefully. It's about being very careful. I mean very, very careful. As light as possible, lacquer each sticker. That will not come off. But you've got to be careful. You've got to be very tidy, very neat, and take off all the excess lacquer from the brush and just coat it so lightly so it protects it. We'll see how it works out. But this is the Logitech K120, cost I think £15. I will put the prices to it. Now guys, put this out of the way. My case. This is a Nemesis. I found it on eBay. It's got a number of, let me open it up. A door here, I don't know if you can see it. It's got a little drawers for hard drive there, 1, 2. Got a fan here. I put the writer in myself. Now it's got 2 USB 3s, 1 USB 2, headphones, but what it has up here is a hard drive docking port. Now when my hard drives get used up, I don't necessarily want to, I don't know which way it goes, let's have a look. No, not that way, it's this way, isn't it? I'll work it out. Oh yeah, not that way. Right. Oh yeah, it is that way. Right, so, sorry, I'm just looking, I haven't tried it yet. So you can dock your hard drives in there without having to take out an enclosure, put in an enclosure, get an external enclosure. So that's the reason why I bought that hard drive for that case, for that reason. It's got it's a screwdriver-less, so you can just unscrew everything by hand. Very easy, very nice. It's a full ATX size case. Cost me, I think, £45. I'll put all the prices, so don't worry, put all the prices. And I like it. It's a nice big case. I wanted a big case. My hard drive and everything will go there. What can I say? Case is a good case. We'll see how it works. And one last thing I did for the build, I got myself an anti-static strap. Now a lot of people might laugh at that, but this is my first build, so I didn't want to make any mistakes, so anti-static strap it is. Right, so I hope you enjoyed this. I've just got one last little bit to talk about, the overall overview. So as I said, I am going to be using Sony Vegas, who are OpenCL based, and given that AMD are putting a lot of effort into developing OpenCL, I wanted to make it an AMD based system, and that's why I chose the processor, AMD processor. I wanted the AMD graphics card too. I was looking for AMD hard drives, SSDs and RAM, but unfortunately they were too expensive. But if I had the money, I would have put everything AMD to reduce the possibility of any incompatibilities. But I did check it all on a site called Parts Pickers, PC Part Pickers, very good site. You can choose the parts, it gives you the prices if they're available, and it tells you if there's any compatibility issues, which is really important for someone like me, a novice. You get to know whether you're going to run into possible troubles. So that's parts pickers. I'll put the link on it. Hope you like it. This is, oh, right, and the last bit is my sound. I'm going to be editing videos. I want to be able to hear properly how good the quality of the audio is. Now, Logitech are a good brand. I bought a Logitech keyboard. I plan to get a Logitech mouse. They're a great brand. These have got good reviews on them. They're not the most high-end. I don't need high-end. I just need to know how good the quality of the audio is, which in the past a lot of my videos have been hit and miss. This will tell me if the quality is good and whether I should publish it. And in turn, sometimes I will need a good set of headphones, which these match with that. These are 10-watt speakers. They went for around about 20 something, £25. They're the Z200 Logitech speakers, 10 watts. 10 watts is more than powerful enough for me to hear, but I did want to have speakers on the system to hear the quality of the audio that I'm going to be putting on my videos for YouTube as well as my other project. Right, so that's it. I'll be doing the PC build, but this is the overview, the rationale behind why I purchased all these parts. All in all, I'm using Sony Vegas. Sony Vegas uses OpenCL. Adobe Premiere is more CUDA cores. Had it been Adobe Premiere, as I said before, I would have probably bought an Intel. The processor is not the main thing, but I would have gone for Intel and NVIDIA cards, because NVIDIA cards, the processor doesn't matter, but it's about compatibility and working together. So NVIDIA cards are CUDA cores. They have special cards. They have GeForce cards, and they have the Quadro cards. The Quadro, the more professional cards, are ridiculously expensive, but the GeForce are developing in their CUDA cores. I think I'm saying this right, but that's where Adobe Premiere's focuses on CUDA cores. Sony Vegas is still using OpenCL as a system. AMD use OpenCL, and this is where the graphics card comes into. And because it's an AMD graphics card, I wanted to use an AMD processor to reduce the compatibility issues. Had I had the money, I'd have bought an AMD SSDs. You don't have to, but I just wanted to, and AMD RAM. Unfortunately, they're a bit more expensive, couldn't afford it, but I tried to reduce any compatibility issues as much as possible. To help you, if it's your first PC you're building, go to a place called PC Parts Pickers. You choose your parts off the list. Each part you choose, it gives you a list of the next component that is compatible with that part. So it's helping you to go along. It gives you the price, even gives you links to the stores that you can buy directly from the site. So it's a great site. I checked everything on PC Parts Pickers, but I didn't get it from there because I resourced it from different areas. But at least I knew there was no compatibility issues in the build. Now, there's nothing more I can say. This is going to be the rationale. It's going to be a video on its own. I will now be doing the build. So, wish me good luck. It's my first build ever.